Okay. Hi, Padmashree. Hi, my name is Rohit. Hi. Okay, let me do a. You're on the mute, I think. Yeah.
Yeah. Hi, Rohit.
Okay. Hi. Let me quickly introduce our next speaker. Padmashree is the VP and Head of Analytics at Capgemini. You can beat me up if I speak anything which is not.
Go
And
ahead
she
with
works. She
it.
works with a lot of clients and helps them understand the potential of AI analytics at Capgemini. Uh, and that's the broad introduction that I can give about Padmashree. This is our first interaction with her. Today we have almost students from all over India and early stage startups joining, and they will ask a lot of questions, and I will keep triggering that. But over to you for now, Padmashree.
Thanks, Rohit. Rohit, how do you want the format to be? That I speak for some time, give a perspective of, AI, which is currently, I think largely being used as augmented intelligence, right? We talk about that. And then open for questions. How do you want to do
Ab-
that?
Absolutely. So you set the context up, and we'll take questions.
Oh, fantastic. Okay, cool. See, okay, so I've been like, in this industry for quite some time now in terms of, AI, long back, to start from data to moving down to, analytics and then, seeing the whole thing to AI, right? Now, AI has become a fad. It's become one popular thing that everybody is talking about, but in my mind the most simplest form of comparison to AI is it's mimicking human is what we are trying to say, right? When we say AI, eventually I hope that's where the whole thing, and probably super intelligence as well, right? So what people talk about right now, we are at a stage where we are still focusing more on narrow AI, right? So there are, again, many theories of how do you segment AI, how do you look at AI, what are the categories of AI. But one simplistic thing, as I told you, is narrow AI, which is kind of helping you focus in one particular problem and solving that problem, or a general artificial general intelligence, which is kind of equating to human, right? What we are, right? And then a super intelligence, it's what you see in the movies of tomorrow, right? The fascinating science fictions that we are talking about, right? So we are currently at the stage of narrow AI, and in the foreseeable future as well, right? So I do see a fair amount of work happening in the narrow AI. The interesting part of this is also the fact that in this whole thing, human is at the center, right? So we are actually trying to help human in various form and fashion. So we can talk about what form and fashion, etc., etc. Therefore, augmenting the intelligence, right? If we can put it that way, right? That's where the whole focus is right now. There are some research work that's happening, some bits like GPT-3, which is launched. Many of you would have read about it in a couple of days back, that was there in the media, which is slightly moving towards the space of trying to be more, AGI, if you can call it. There's still a long way to go, but, moving there. But then the real use of 95, 99 point whatever percentage of AI today is in augmenting human intelligence, helping humans in doing various tasks, and therefore directly aligning with business, right? So there is a lot of talk in the Gartner's and other research reports, right? Forbes had some writing, etc. Right. So the maximum benefit of AI, as we talk today and in the near future, is all to do with focusing on AI helping in various aspects of productivity improvement or better risk assessment, so on and so forth, right? Client, customer personalization, all those areas, right? So right now that's where we are, and the maximum potential with respect to business value generation is in using AI for augmenting the human intelligence, right? So that's broadly the context. The areas that we are working on from within Capgemini, we focus on scale right now, because all organizations, I'm sure, again, it's all public information in terms of uh, even during COVID period, right? So whilst I handle a few many other areas, right, under analytics theme itself, I think the one thing that has really grown during this period is data sciences, right? And that's very interesting to note. right? So people have realized the value of increasing the stepping up the intervention of AI, right? And therefore, I think and therefore taking it to scale is the area that we are focusing on, and that's an area that we could kind of talk for a while, right? Many other things, in terms of trust, for instance, right? We will when there is human, there is machine, right? There has to be trust, right? And I think that is becoming more and more important, right? And playing a central theme, right, as we scale augmented intelligence as we move on, right? Yeah, so broadly those are the big rocks, right? As I talk about why augmented intelligence, why is it important to use AI for augmenting the human intelligence. Okay, in the why part as well, right? So I was just looking through my notes here, right? I wanted to spend a bit of a time talking about the fact that why is it still narrow AI today, right? And why is it still not general AI? Again, there are theories, thought process, multiple, but I'll talk in a most simplistic manner as it has kind of appealed to me, right? One basic thing struggle that and realistic ones, right? So as we talk to multiple clients across the globe, one important thing is the availability of data is still a big issue today, right? Given that I started with GPT-3, right? So it's easy for me to take that as an example to talk about linkages to that, right? Now, I'm sure all of you have read some 175 billion parameters were used to build this whole model, right? Uh, the internet gives you that kind of flexibility to use those data to come up with one language model, right? But imagine organizations which are working on various functions, right? They have supply chain, they have customer to cater to. How much of data do we have, right? We are still in the phase of building data. We are still in the phase of labeling data. We don't have labeled data. We don't have the amount of complex features that our human mind really thinks to take decisions today as is really available. It's available in plenty, but we are still not there, right? Bias in data, right? The data, moving to the quality of data. Even the data that we have today is already, built in the biases that we have already, generations of biases that's gone into the data, right? We need to really solve for those things, right? There are missing data, right? And moreover, we've not gotten into the level of judgment and creativity, right? Back to my GPT-3, I don't know why I'm picking this up time and again today, but we will talk about other pieces as well, right? But judgment and creativity is still outside the purview, right? Certain amount of judgment, yes, we are trying to sneak it in, but still human intervention, right? Human cognition is still important, right? And we still way behind when it comes to explainability, right? Explainability is become a big thing, especially in the areas of risk, in the areas of finance, in the areas of banking and everywhere, right? So that is still somewhere missing, so we need to solve for that as well, right? In fact, I was trying to think in my mind, drawing parallels with human intelligence, right? So today the ultimate intelligence that we have is human intelligence, as we all know, right? Think about it. We many things we are still trying to solve, right? We have diseases, we still don't know, we haven't mastered the diseases that we all have, right? We have no clue why some things happen, right? We still have no clue, right? And if we are designing AI, right? We better solve for explainability, right? It becomes easier. Otherwise, we are actually currently re-engineering ourselves, right? All the things that we are talking about, gene cutting to cut the gene and fix the genes, right? We are also trying taking parallels in the intelligence world, right? But imagine, right? You want to build something that can be more explainable, that can be more solved for when there is a problem, right? So things like these are being thought about, put into the thing. So back to the concept of augmented intelligence, right? That's where we are right now. And to get to the level that I'm talking about, and what we are doing, etc., is a bit into the future, right? So that's where it is. So I'll kind of take a pause, Rohit. Yeah, you want to pitch in, you want to ask, we can have a conversation around it. Yeah, are you there? Okay, I am I audible? Okay. I still don't get him to come into the frame. So I'm kind of assuming that all of you can hear me. Okay. So let's move on to kind of talk a bit more about areas of applications of augmented intelligence, right? Hey Rohit, you're there. Was I audible at all? Sorry, I guess what's happening is all of us are trying to figure out ways and means of doing this in a remote
No, no,
fashion. So I can understand that this is just going off. Yeah, Rohit, you're
no.
back. But I
We
hope I
heard.
was audible, right? Mhm.
Absolutely, you were. There are a lot of questions that have come, and we'll take three, four of them, Padmashree.
Sure.
One is the business related, and I will set the context. Someone is asking what kind of request do you get from your clients? We do not want to know what clients and all, but generally speaking, what is the industry asking currently from a leader like you?
Sure. I'll cut it into, you can cut it into many parts, but at least two parts, right, for now, right? So let's look at it this way. From business problem solving. So eventually all of what we do is to solve for business problems, or kind of lift the game for the business, right? Now, you kind of look at the kind of work that we do is from, let's say, productivity angle to start with, right? So if when I'm saying productivity angle, a good portion of the work goes on in the form of how do we kind of reduce the workload, right, in terms of mammoth workload that has to be solved. For instance, recently there is, with all this Brexit happening, there is huge requirement for regulatory submission of forms that needs to be done, right? And suddenly they are having to employ like 300 400 people just to do this work, right? How do you do that all of a sudden, right? So AI really comes in handy to kind of cut chop some of the work, right? Extract a lot of NLP work, right? So there, extract the information from various documentation, ensuring that we get the right information out, etc. Be it in the space of similarly, invoice, etc. So productivity, right? Operational space, right? That's one big chunk of augmented intelligence work that goes in, right? The second big chunk, customers, they always remain the center of all that we do, right? More in terms of personalization, more usage of computer vision coming our way, right? Now, I wouldn't just call it in the space of personalization, but also in the space of using computer vision now to be able to extend it to worker safety, extend it to, in fact, conversations that we are having to see, if the factory is getting shifted from one place to another and there is work happening, how do you quickly identify if there is risk involved, right? We work for, like, for instance, large mining organizations in Australia, where there is human risk involved in, it is mining, right? So you actually have to blast open the spaces, right? And the right quantity of the explosives to be bundled upon to be able to do that is one thing. And how do we really ensure that that's the right amount, right quantity, right? All of those spaces, very very interesting spaces of both risk and customer related personalization, is the second area that we can talk about. Risk, then extending it to financial risk and other forms of, in the banking financial services area, right? So that's again a lot of work going on. AML, for instance, right? These are really old ones, and it's only getting better by the day, right? AI is actually helping it becoming sharper and sharper, right? But but new techniques, right? So imagine we have a graph DB right now on which you can actually embed algorithms to improve the whole thing, to light up the connections and etc., right? So a lot of work going involving network graph plus AI. Network graph plus algorithms is a space that we are using for fraud detection and other spaces. Definitely in decision support space, Rohit, a lot happening there with supply chain becoming more and more important, critical today, right? And especially in the new world of COVID, supply chain has become a problem-solving space, right? Why? Because change of locations, warehouses, risk involved, etc. That's another big area that we see in terms of using of AI, augmented intelligence in that sense, if I'm using it right. Yeah. Does it answer the question, Rohit?
Absolutely, it does. There's one more question. So Ashish Nagpal asks, we are a second largest democracy, third largest economy now. What is the potential of AI that leaders and managers need to exploit?
Okay. So now democracy and leaders and managers are two different things altogether, right? Um, uh, Leaders and managers, I think I'll probably look at the leaders and managers, and then we'll go to the democracy part of it, right? So that's like a two edges of the whole thing, right? I think there is huge potential, not in calling all of AI to be AI. Doing AI for the heck of it is not what we should be doing, right? It is very important for us to combine the business strategy, right, and the goal to that of AI strategy, right? If that doesn't happen, right, we are actually gone, right? So most importantly, first align business strategy to your AI strategy. Look for nuggets, and again, these are all small interventions. We don't really need to look at a large scale AI thing in one go, right? You can actually embed, as I was giving those examples, right? There are multiple areas where you can quickly start thinking about how do you embed intelligence, right, to either improve your timelines, right? Look at this whole thing of the COVID, coronavirus vaccines that are coming out, right? Typically, all of us know that the vaccines take ages to, you know, earlier it used to be 5 years at least, if not more, right, to come into the thing, right? Today we are already talking about 6, 7 months, and it is out there, right? How is it doable? It is only doable because we are actually able to look at multiple parameters in one go, right? Bring in too many features together and start looking at it and solving for it, right? That is a good and I'm sure there is AI involved in this whole space, and because we ourselves are working with life sciences companies, right? So look for small and big ways of improvement, right? Be it productivity improvement, be it decision speed in decision making, be it reduction in the amount of research to go to market, right? Be it increase in sales through better forecasting. Start thinking about where can I put faster speed to this whole thing with a small intervention of algorithms across, right? I think look for smaller chewing bites, and of course ensure that you have a thought process of implementing this at scale and maintaining it, right? So I always say think big, but start small, right? Have this and connect it to the business strategy. Those are the things that I would really think to move forward as we move.
Awesome. While I'll have the last word, there's one more question. What is the most revolutionary change AI has made to the world? And let me add to it, and I'm asking you, are elections ever be able to be done in more technology manner? Do you think in a country like India?
See, elections for AI, right? There is a lot of technology involved in it. Okay, so first let me step back, right? What is the primary question of the most revolutionary change in AI, right? I think I wouldn't say one thing, right? I think it is more the fact that everybody knows it's not a very unique answer in that sense, but the fact that we are currently able to process volumes of data, right? That's the biggest thing that has happened to mankind, right? And the data in the form of, and we've understood that the data is in the form of uh, computer vision, I mean the cameras, data in the form of voice, data in the form of all of these, right? We've never even thought of using all of these to solve for business problem, right? So I think that's been a primary change. Coming to the algorithms, I wouldn't say that that's way back when we started working in the AI, we all had all the neural network and other things, right? But the fact that we are now able to crunch huge volumes of data, right, and run these algorithms on top of it quickly, right, the processing power and that one, I think that has been a big revolution, right? Now the rest of it, I think is working around it, and therefore the speed, right? In fact, I would say the COVID situation has actually helped us in a big jump in use of technology, right? And therefore the use of AI, right? As I was talking in the beginning of the thing, right? This probably kind of when wherever we put a 10-year window, it's already jumped forward, right? It's come to 5 year, etc., right? Because edge processing and so on and so forth. We're talking multiple things right now, right? So we are talking about edge computing quite a bit, because all of the work that is happening, we can't sit and go, we can't really go and look at it personally, right? So the ask for edge processing has jumped up quite dramatically, right? Things like these are happening, Rohit. So yeah, that's the revolution. I
Okay,
think is the biggest one. Yeah.
the last question. We've seen AR VR growing like immensely. Do you ever see AR VR in you know crossing paths with AI soon and building an impactful ecosystem together? Like for an example, Facebook is doing something called Spark Augmented Reality, which is again backed up by a lot of artificial intelligence. So, what's your take on it with this?
Absolutely, yeah. See, my augmented reality, right, as a combination of intelligence is a reality, right? It's going to happen. It's going to happen. And as I said, more and more because of the fact that, in fact, COVID has helped us in speeding this whole thing. I'd reiterate that point that I just made. I'll take an example, right? So, for instance, today your need to go to the uh, literal store, right, and buy what you want from a physical store has been almost shut for all of a sudden, right? So then the need for actually having an AR combined with an AI is become absolutely. That is one quick example, that if you can just imagine what I'm trying to say, right? If you can just start searching it on an Amazon kind of a thing, oh, what I need is different than walking into a store and exploring what is there, right? These are two different things, right? So imagine you have the combination of personalization through AI, right? If in some form, right? So I know, what is Padmashree is going to look for, right? And then I have the feeling of walking into the store and exploring the whole thing, right? Rather than I'm saying, hey, I want to look for this product and search on that product, right? This becomes the reality today, right? So I think AR, augmented reality, and in that sense, is going to be really coming through faster as a combination of AI and augmented reality. Many other things, virtual experiences, right? Many of these, the physical show, this thing, right? Disneys of the world I'm talking about, right? Imagine if the kids can do this, instead of going all the way there, right? With this thing, you can give them a restricted environment of augmented reality, right? I know that there is already these, all the Xboxes of the world are already there, but that's going to go up, right? So that's where, that's going to become more sharper, become more personalized, become more, more in terms of helping you to do things, right? Combining AR, VR to the real intelligence on top of it, right? As to what is your child requesting, wanting, education field, it's going to become big there, right? It's really going to become, the teacher is going to stand in front of you and talk to you, right? And personalize it to the kid's requirement, right? It's going to happen there, right? So I think it is the reality which is really coming fast towards us.
And some of it is already
It
happening. I
is.
mean, in last 4 months, we've seen lot of things happening which we were not, even ready for, maybe.
Exactly. Cloud has, if you can,
Yeah,
if you
cloud.
can think about it, right? We never thought the movement to the cloud, Rohit, can happen in such a faster pace, right?
Faster. Yeah.
Last 4 5 months, people, industries which was restricting, which were not wanting to go on the cloud, has quickly said, "Hey, cloud," right?
Yeah.
Because that's the only way they can get people to work from anywhere that they are,
Anyway, yeah.
right? So cloud movement has become big, and that actually has also helped in the area of
Yeah.
AI for again, right? In some way, it has improved the presence of building up more in that front. So that's
My
happening.
Again, my last question to you, Padmashree, would be, yeah, and since you do a lot of hiring and there are a lot of students who would eventually get into job market, what are the three key aspects that you look at in a candidate when you hire them in an AI data analytics field?
Okay, that's an interesting one, Rohit. Okay, let's go this way, right? Um, See, today, if you look at it, we don't really. Okay, I'll in fact compare it with the software development life cycle, right? When the whole thing of IT world boomed, right? Initially, most of the so-called programs had to be built by people, right? So you had to write it from the scratch, right? All of us started our thing there, where we started the whole thing from the scratch, right? But as things moved, as things improved, so on and so forth, right? It became engineering field, right? It no more was from the scratch kind of a build that was happening, right? Today, the similar trend is happening to the data science and the AI world as well, right? Most of the algorithms that we are now looking to build is already out there, right? Go to GitHub, it is there, right? If you're really keen, people like us, right, we re-engineer to figure out what is there in it, right? However, what we really do is to you need to really look for solving business problem in a more interesting manner, in a more quick manner, right? How do you combine these algorithms to make meaning out of it, to solve for it, right? We are looking for more ML engineers, right? So therefore, I would still look for people with ideas, with problem solving abilities, right? Business solution thinking people, right? Adaptive people, right? There is so much talks about people who are just you need to be adaptive, right? You need to learn, right? You can't have somebody who's learned everything and coming in front of you. That ain't happening for us, right? So we look for various other applications in terms of problem solving skills, in terms of solution thinking, in terms of being able to learn faster, adapt faster, so on and so forth, with some basic skills of other things, right? So I would put these qualities more important than just being a data scientist at the end of it, which is important, I'm saying, but the other aspects are important.
Okay, let me put you in little trouble. 30 seconds, and you tell me, is Indian education system doing that? And how do, and how can these students actually learn it more in a more practical environment?
I'm hoping the NEP, right? They call it NEP. That is what is hopefully going to take us to the next better step, Rohit. Right? I have two kids, right? And it is the most difficult thing to give them an exposure to the real world, right? To give them exposure to how do you solve. It's not about writing a code, but it's about solving something for using the code, etc., right? So I currently, as we talk, you're not putting me on a spot as a parent as well. It is not necessarily in the right this thing to give the holistic development to the kid or a child, right? It needs to be there has to be a lot of improvement, and I hope uh, the new changes coming in will help,
Yeah.
right? It's a lot on the
Okay,
parent
maybe.
to
Yeah.
make this happen.
Yeah, maybe the new education policy will address that maybe sooner than later.
That is right.
Sure. Thank you, Padmashree. Thank you for your time today. We are extremely grateful for your time and a lot of knowledge from you. Thank you so much.
Pleasure talking to all of you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye bye.
Thank you. Bye.